On the microphone, we welcome Ryan Burgess of Canisius College, the Golden Griffins, and the Buffalo Beauts hockey team in Buffalo, New York. Enjoy the episode. Ryan, welcome to the show. Happy to have you. Introduce yourself. Give us a little detail about who you are and what you do.
Well, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Ryan Burgess. I'm here in Buffalo, New York. I am the public address voice and music director for quite a few hockey teams up here. Since 2015, I've been with the Buffalo Beauts of the Premier Hockey Federation and the Canisius Golden Griffins Division I college hockey program. This past year, I started with the ACHA, or what they used to call club hockey version of the Niagara Purple Eagles hockey team, their top flight. I do a lot of stuff at Lecom Harbor Center as well in terms of special events. And this fall, I will be back with I believe, my 12th year with the Buffalo Junior Sabres of the Ontario Junior Hockey League. Haven't been able to play the past 3 years because of COVID restrictions because we're the only U.S. team in a Canadian junior league. So we're happy to get after it. I'm really excited for it.
I'm so happy to talk to you about something that I know a little about, and that's hockey. When I lived in Florida, I went to a Lightning game when I was a teenager, and I'm in Central Kentucky. We had a like a minor league team that was seemed popular, but did not last, called the Thoroughblades, because we're thoroughbred horse racing. And
Hmm.
I remember going to some contests there and enjoying it. I would love to see more, but just haven't had that experience. So I love to learn new things, and I can't wait to talk to you. So let's answer some questions. Let's jump into it. Most of the photos I've seen of you, Ryan, you have this big cowboy hat on. And when I see a cowboy hat, I think Yellowstone. I think the Dallas Cowboys. I do not picture Buffalo, New York. I picture winter with several layers of clothing on. So explain the cowboy hat a little bit.
Well, you kind of touched on it with mentioning Dallas there. I am a native of Houston, Texas. So it's a nice place or it's a nice way, I should say, to kind of recognize where I come from. And it's just one way for me to express my personality. It's a great conversation starter.
Yeah, absolutely. I imagine a lot of people come up to you in the Buffalo, New York area with that same question.
Uh, yeah, I get a couple questions about it, and mostly it's just like kids want pictures with the guy who wears a cowboy hat and talks, you know?
Hey, that's cool though. I mean,
It is.
that's something that's going to draw them to the game when they're there, because obviously the game is always the main event. But you want those little sidebars too. So if you're there, you want to see, like you said, the kid remembers this is the place where the guy with the cowboy hat talks into the speakers or in the mic. That's a
Hmm.
that's a huge deal for kids. So next question. The NHL has done a lot of outside venue hockey games in the previous few years. It's very popular with the Winter Classics and so forth. So, have you ever announced a hockey game outside?
I have. I've got five of them under my belt. The first one was in 2013 in Rochester, New York. The American Hockey League had, I guess, their version of an outdoor classic. The team in Rochester played the team from Cleveland. As part of that, because the ice was already set up, there was a college hockey game. RIT played somebody, and my junior Sabres were able to play a game on that baseball field. Didn't come out on the top end of the stick, but it was still an amazing experience. Um, and then the three recent ones have been with the Buffalo Beauts. We have a complex here downtown called Riverworks, and, and it has I'm going to say covered but still open rink. So you still feel the elements, but if it's snowing heavily, you don't get a lot of that unless the wind's blowing.
It just makes me think, and this is an outsider looking in. Like I played and coached soccer, and we always say soccer's supposed to be played in the rain. Like you love it when it rains. So to me, when I think like hockey, this is almost like the natural element. This is not supposed to be an indoor game. It's supposed to be an outdoor game. So I imagine fans love that.
And that's exactly what the NHL and these leagues are trying to capture is, most kids growing up, they're out on their outdoor ponds or their outdoor rinks trying to be the next or try to imitate Sidney Crosby or Mario Lemieux or folks like that, or even Tage Thompson. Yeah, he's one of our rather good sabers up here. And this is how they kind of market it as we take the game back outside to, where it started and where everybody started. It's really cool.
Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love the idea of it. So hockey, hockey, hockey. You announce a lot of it. Do you ever experience any fatigue from calling the same sport over and over?
Honestly, no. I look at every game as, a fresh 60 minutes. So you don't know what's going to happen when the puck drops. And you just take what the game gives you. At least that's the way I look at it. Uh, and it's wonderful, honestly. There's such a sense of wonder for me that's associated with this game that I don't think I'll ever get tired of it.
That's awesome to hear your passion for the sport. And like you said, every game's different, and you've got to take that mentality into it. Speaking of the mental part of it, what do you do mentally or physically to prepare before you take the microphone and announce a game?
Uh, there it is both parts. It is both mental and physical. Physically, I stretch because I do not sit during hockey games. I find that if I'm sitting, I don't have or I don't have as much energy coming from my diaphragm and to, properly call a game. I don't feel like I'm invested in it if I'm sitting down. And then the mental part of it, I go over the names of the competitors in my head. um, I take a real good look at the script in case there's some special elements. And the other thing I do is I check to see if there are any milestones coming up. Say if one of my guys is playing his 100th college game, I want to make sure that's recognized. On the off chance his parents or his friends are here, I want them to be able to have that moment.
Now, I find it very interesting that you that you stand the whole time, because that for as many games as you announce, you're on your feet quite a bit.
It's a great way to make sure I get my steps in. Fitness is something that I'm trying to get better at, both mentally and physically. So it's just another exercise for me.
Yeah, got to get that 10,000 a day, man. Before, yeah, before I got on here, I walked our dog for a mile, so I know what you mean. So, next question. A player I absolutely love, not hockey related, but in the NFL, I love Josh Allen. Like he comes across as my type of player where if he couldn't play quarterbacking and said, "Hey, Josh, you got to play kicker," I'm going to play. He just comes across as like, I just want to be on the field and compete. Well, he was recently selected for the Madden cover, and some players have kind of been jinxed by that. Others have survived that curse. Think Josh Allen's going to survive the Madden curse?
Oh, I think he's going to turn it on his head. Coming into the Bills' organized team activities these past couple weeks, he said he's been more focused on football than he's ever been. Um, and I'm just like, well, that can only be a good sign. Now it's just up to execute. Like with the Bills, the problem hasn't been the players. It's been the execution, and hopefully they can get it all together and have enough depth so they can execute in all three phases of the game, play complementary football. Geez, I sound like Sean McDermott, the head coach, and bring this city a football championship that it has deserved for so long.
Yeah, I'm a Tampa Bay Bucks fan. Spent some time in Florida, and so forth. I had a great grandfather that lived there even when we were living in Kentucky. So my dad would bring me back the old orange swashbuckler, and I was always for the Bucks. But I got to tell you, I'm on the bandwagon with Allen. I just love the way he competes. So I got to root for you all.
It's hard to hate these Bills. It really is. You look around the country, and it seems like, because the team was so bad for so long, and now they're contenders. America's team wears red, white, and blue. That's all I gotta say.
I love it. I absolutely love that. I'm gonna steal that one. So back on hockey, if you could have never announced another hockey game again, what would be your number two sport to announce?
That was a tough call. It would probably either be soccer or lacrosse because the the calls are so similar. Like I picture in my head calling a goal in soccer, or calling a goal in lacrosse. Um, it seems like they're lighter lifts than hockey, where there's not something coming, every other whistle. There's time to let the game play out and flow. And I think I'd really like both of those.
Man, I've been to one lacrosse match. It's just now coming of age, I guess you could say, in the bluegrass state here. And I have a friend that coaches at the University of the Cumberlands, small NAI school, but he's from Columbus, Ohio, spent some time in Baltimore, Maryland. So he's saturated in the game, and I loved it. Like I cannot wait for it to expand more. I really loved the lacrosse game that I saw.
Well, lacrosse is doing fairly well up here. Our Buffalo Bandits just won the NLL championship. So Buffalo's been pretty much a party city for the past little week here. Our first pro championship since the Beauts did it in 2017. So
Nice. Now let's say you're someone like me. Uh, Hypothetically, I'm under your wing, Ryan. You're mentoring me, and like I'm taking the microphone for the first time to announce a hockey game. What's the first thing you're going to tell me that I need to know?
uh, learn the referee's signals. There are so many different hand signals that are used by the referees in hockey that it can be difficult to keep track of it. So I would have, like a cheat sheet or something that has diagrams of the signals. And the other piece of advice I would give is to um, learn how to count up on a clock, because at the professional level, at my level, at all the levels I announce at, we announce elapsed time, not remaining time. So it's 7:20 into the period, not 13:40. Or see, I can't even do it,
That's
but you know what I
interesting.
mean. Those
Yeah.
would be, and just like soccer. So, for example, in the 75th minute.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do soccer, you probably would already have a leg up in that regard. I mean, shoot, I have a spreadsheet that I type the time on the clock in, it spits out the elapsed time, and that's how I do it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Not every sport counts down, just like you said with soccer, it counts up. Now you told me something about yourself before we've done this interview, and that is that you are a big fan of the Sim City computer game, even though there have been no updates to this game since 2014. So what has sucked you into this game and what has kept you still playing? Why this Sim City game?
Well, it's the it's the power of creation, I think. As a kid growing up, and to this day, I was really fascinated by how a city works. My dad worked when I was very young in the public works department for a suburb of Houston. And I remember him taking me into the public works garage, and they had a street sign that I still have all made up that says Burgess Boulevard on it. So learning how a city works, and then being able to design one, lay it out the way I want it with all the roads, the highways, and try to make some place that people would want to live. I just think that's been really cool. Um, the version I play, SimCity 4, came out in 2003. There was an expansion pack released the next year, and that version of SimCity, which is the last and best one, has endured.
And maybe you'll be city manager of Buffalo one day. Help design
Uh,
the new stadium. You never know.
yeah, no, yeah, you never know. I don't know that I'd want that job because our current mayor has a lot of folks mad at him. I don't know that I have that thick skin. I mean, I can handle fans booing me for making a call, a penalty that somebody didn't like, but I don't know if I could have a whole city screaming at me.
Yeah, I'm with you all the way, my friend. So, one thing that I find very interesting is when fans throw, not in a mean way, but in a fun spirited way, they throw objects onto the ice. So, tell us your best story about throwing, about fans throwing objects onto the ice that you have seen in person live.
Um, I don't know that I've seen a hat trick in person. Well, going to a game and just watching a Sabres game, I've seen a couple hat tricks and everybody yeets their hat onto the ice. But when people toss stuff at my games, it's usually for the chuck a puck. My marketing team, for example, sets up a target at center ice. Everybody chucks little foam pucks onto the ice. Closest to wins a cash prize. They usually take the tot and split it in half. So I've had some close calls. I think I've had one bullseye, and I had one that was sitting on the bullseye and got knocked off by another puck.
Oh, man, I love that idea though.
Yeah,
You know,
it's a great fundraiser.
yeah, it's simple and I like simple ideas. Everyone's got a chance to win, a legit chance to win. I love it.
And I love setting it up pre-game. I usually end it with something like, "You got to be in it to win it. If you're not in it, get in it, and good luck to you."
So, last question, hockey related. Lord Stanley's Cup, the prestigious Stanley Cup. Have you ever put the white gloves on and held it? How close have you gotten to the Stanley Cup?
Been pretty close. I've seen it on display at the Hockey Hall of Fame in Toronto, and it came around Buffalo a couple times. I've got a photo with it. Now, the rule with the Stanley Cup is that unless your team wins it, you don't touch it. So I've never touched it, but I've had my photo with it. It was real cool to because there's so much history on the Stanley Cup. The names of all the players, the coach on each team that wins it are engraved on these rings, and those rings eventually come off and they're stored at the Hockey Hall of Fame. But it's really cool to look back on these teams or look back at these teams and point out players and like, oh, I remember when this person played. Um, haven't touched it yet, but hopefully I'll get to very pretty soon because it seems like the Sabres are coming back around. On the other hand, the PHF's trophy, the Isabel Cup, which is named for Lord Stanley's daughter, that I've had a chance to hold and spend some time with because the Beauts won it.
Nice, nice. I love learning new things. I did not know that. That is so neat that that trophy's named after Lord Stanley's daughter. That's a
Mm-hmm.
new fast fact for me.
It's really something with how hard everybody works to lift it. In the case of the Stanley Cup, they say it weighs 35 pounds, except when you're lifting it. Like you don't notice it. You're just so happy and full of emotion.
Oh, imagine. Ryan, that is our time. So appreciate you taking time out of your day to do this interview. So I'm going to allow you to close us out and however you feel, whatever manner that you feel. And once again, I appreciate your time, sir.
Well, again, it's my pleasure to be here, and I'm just so glad to, I suppose, it's another avenue for me to get myself out into the world and network with folks. Once again, well, what I really should do here is I can't do anything what I do without my wife behind me. She's my rock. For Canisius, she actually calls the show. So she's on the headset with the pep band and the folks in the video board room, coordinating everything, telling me when to talk. So just Melissa is her name. She writes a bunch of stuff for hockey, both men's and women's. Couldn't do it without you. And to all my teams, Canisius, the Beauts, Junior Sabres, my Niagara club team. Uh, the players are another big reason why I do it, because when there's not a lot of fans in the stands, you need energy from somewhere, and thrilled to have the opportunity to provide that. So find me on Instagram at BurgMania87, on Twitter at BurgMania. That's BURG Mania. And of course, through our public address announcer Facebook group. Until next time, this is Ryan Burgess telling you to take care of yourselves and each other.
If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and share the content. Also, consider joining the Public Address Announcer Facebook group so you can connect with others who are on the microphone.